What is up, you guys? This is Icy Soul coming at you here with my first ever rant on this channel. I've been wanting to do one for a while, and now I finally found a topic to rant about, and I hope you guys like it. So my first rant on this channel is going to be about the de-evolution and pretty much fall of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise, and how this great franchise that used to be something really, really cool has since fallen into pit of crap. So basically, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Used to be a really interesting game that took a lot of knowledge to play and a lot of skill to play, and it was new, it was fresh, it was interesting when it came out. I mean, it required so much strategy to play that, you know, you couldn't just pick up a deck and read the deck and stuff and just throw your cards out and win matches. It didn't work. And there used to be, of course, tribute summons. I mean, there still is, but tribute summons were something to be proud of. Like, you would have to, like, get your monsters out there, and you'd have to build up your monster card zone in order to sacrifice them to get more powerful monsters, and that brought probably, in my opinion, one of the most important dynamics to the game. It also used to be where levels mattered. I mean, this is all like in G1 Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, I'm talking season 1 through 5 of the anime. From, like, when it first came out, I believe it came out in, like, what, 2002 or something like that, and ended in, like, 05, I want to say. So, but, like, I'm also talking about not only the anime, but the card game as well. And in the anime, of course, the levels didn't really matter, but in the card game, your levels mattered. You had your levels 1 through 4, which were your primary cards that you could put out, you know, on your first turn and everything. And no matter what, you wouldn't have to sacrifice anything. And then level 5 and 6 were tribute 1 monster, and level 7 and 8 was tribute 2 monsters. And even, like, I've been watching the original Yu-Gi-Oh! on Hulu. I'm on episode 3 of season 2 right now. I watched all of season 1, and I'm on episode 3 of season 2, and I've been noticing that in the anime, the game is a little less fair in the anime than it is in the card game. The card game had a lot more rules than the anime did. I mean, I'm noticing, like, in the anime, Yugi's able to put out his Dark Magician like it's nothing. And just like, oh, here's my Dark Magician from my hand on the field. And it's not how the card game would work. I think the card game was more fun than the anime, as a matter of fact. I mean, the anime is amazing, but I think the card game was even more fun. And, you know, if that had just gone on like that forever and had a bunch of different episodes for the original Yu-Gi-Oh!, then I probably would have been happy with it. But, of course, they at some point decided, you know, let's end the current generation of Yu-Gi-Oh! and start a new one, and that's when they released GX. And GX, at first I was very skeptical about GX because I heard there was going to be new rules, you know, new types of monsters and everything, and you know, I didn't really want to learn anything about it when it came out, but eventually I just said, you know what, I'm going to give it a chance. And I watched GX. I'm not sure if I've seen all of GX, but what I've seen quite a bit of GX, and it is still cool. I mean, they introduced the elemental heroes, which wasn't too much to really take in. They did use basically the same kind of idea that the card types and the card attributes had been using from Yu-Gi-Oh! G1, where it was just, instead of putting that in the card type or the card attribute, it became like part of the title of the card, and you would use the title of the card in interacting ways with other card titles and like other spell and trap cards. The elemental heroes are okay. I don't mind the elemental heroes. But in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, that's when we started to see the combo plays where people would be able to do like 15 things in a move. and sacrifice this monster, bring out that monster, sacrifice that monster, bring back the original monster, and and start doing these crazy combos and stuff, and that would give you monsters with high attack, low attack, this effect, that effect, and you start chaining stuff into each other, probably more than you ought to. But even that didn't bother me as much as the other stuff. The new stuff bothers me now. And in the GX anime, I mean, it seemed like they had finally found a balance between the card game and the anime. So when you watched in the anime, it was pretty similar to what you played in the card game. I mean, you wouldn't have these massively powerful monsters being able to come out like nothing. And GX, I liked also the school setting of GX. I think that was a cool thing to do, have it set in a school, specifically if learning about duel monsters and stuff. That was, I think GX, I'd hate to say, call it its heyday, but I want to say, like, it's certainly one of Yu-Gi-Oh's prime moments in its history. I still think that that some of the stuff that happened in the original Yu-Gi-Oh is probably the best stuff that's ever happened in Yu-Gi-Oh, but GX is certainly up there. So around, I want to say 2008 is when G2 ended, and then G3, which is Generation 5Ds, came out. And this is where everything started to fall the hell apart. This is where Yu-Gi-Oh started making changes to the game and everything that would ultimately kill it in the end. They brought in these synchro monsters, which are, the white cards that pretty much completely did away with fusion monsters. And it was interesting because it seemed like in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX they also put more of a stress on the fusion monsters, and you would see in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, you'd see maybe 1 or 2 fusion monsters every 5 episodes or whatever. But in GX they became such a huge part of the game. The fusion monsters, I mean, people would have fusion decks of 15 monsters in GX. It was crazy, and it was interesting. I mean, to see if you could fuse the monsters together. But the 5Ds came along and introduced the synchro monsters, the tuners and synchros, and that killed off fusion completely, because you wouldn't need polymerization, and you could just this card, and just put them together on the field. Hey, look, a synchro monster. It completely killed the idea of fusion monsters, which started to, decrease the gameplay. And I also thought that in the anime, the whole idea of, it's pretty much the same dueling that we're used to, but it's just on motorcycles now. That seemed very, very freaking gimmicky to me. It's like, it's like they sat down at the board of directors table at Konami, and they're like, what do little boys like? Besides duel monsters. Oh, let's see. They like going fast. They like cars. Hey, let's duel on motorcycles. Oh, that's gonna make us a lot of money. And I thought that was just such a stupid idea. I mean, I don't know. I didn't like it at all. 5Ds is when you started to see, the combos becoming more overpowered, the monsters becoming more overpowered, the spells and traps becoming more overpowered. Everything started to increase in value. The levels started getting higher. I mean, everything. It wouldn't be uncommon to see, a level 5 or level 6 monster with 2400 attack. It was getting up there, and decreasing the worth of stars, level stars, and increasing the attack and defense, and to a lesser extent the effects of the monsters. However, even despite all of that, you still had a bunch of constraints to live by, and it still required a lot of skill to play well. Maybe you wouldn't need much skill to actually play it, but in order to be really good at it, in order to be a top duelist, you would need to have some skill to play it well. You need to start comboing. You need to know how to combo things into each other, and know your deck, and know how certain cards work with one another, so it still required some skill to play, although, this is when we started to see the value of the older cards start decreasing. And, of course, now we're in the Generation 4. Generation 4 is Zexal. and it is the complete reason why I hate Yu-Gi-Oh! Now as a franchise, because their introduction of XYZ monsters. Now, if you think Synchros killed Fusion, XYZ killed Synchros, because the XYZ made it where basically any XYZ monster could be fused with any other XYZ monster, and to make an ultimate powerful XYZ combined monster that, has like 3,500 attack plus, and it's unbeatable by the standards of, the G1 and G2 Yu-Gi-Oh. Dueling is no longer about skill and chaining and predicting your opponent. There's no skill involved in Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. It's become about infinite combos and spamming your attacks. I was literally dueling online with a guy the other day, and he had this infinite combo that he kept spamming me with, that every time he recycled through these like 3 monsters on his side of the field, which he was able to do infinitely in his one turn, he would decrease 600 life points from me each time he did it, and just spam, 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 infinite combo with no end. And there was other guys who, would, in one single turn, they were able to fill their monster card zone completely with monsters with 2,400 attack, 2,600 attack, 2,800 attack, 3,200 attack, 4,000 attack, and fill that up completely with cards like those in one single turn without having to tribute anything to summon them. And like the levels are useless now too. I mean, you have cards now that are like level 12, level 13. Like by old standards, you would require probably like 4 or 5 monsters to get those out on the field. But now that you can pretty much use your XYZ monsters with each other without tributing, levels have become useless. It's like, well, what does it even matter that the level's on there, because you can just do all your fancy XYZ tricks and get those out no problem. It's ridiculous. And one of I think the absolute biggest problem, besides, there being very little skill involved with Yu-Gi-Oh! At all now, a newbie could pick up a XYZ deck and spam you with. But my biggest problem with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that it makes all the other cards in the game obsolete. Like, if you have a deck that's anything, 5Ds might still have a possible chance with it, but anything below 5Ds, if you have a deck including anything below 5Ds cards, you're going to get creamed, because you just can't stand up to these monsters with like 3,400 attack. It's ridiculous. If you wanted to know what's killed Yu-Gi-Oh!, at least for me, it's been these Exo monsters, the XYZ stuff. It's completely ruined the game for me. But anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for me. This has been Icy Soul, ranting about Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds and Zexal. Seeing as how I love the old Yu-Gi-Oh! I think I'm gonna re-download Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, log back into it, and get my stuff back. And if you have a deck that's more themed between generations 1 and 2, I will be happy to duel you. If you have any synchros or any XYZ monsters, don't even bother dueling me. So yeah, that's going to be doing it for me, you guys. I'm going to try to put out a few more AMVs. The AMV war is coming to a close. Looks like Jackson might win this round of the AMV war. We'll see how that goes. And like I said, I want to put out my Fear 3 gameplay, which I'm going to be I can't get my gameplay to actually be my gameplay because, like I said, my capture card's broken. And I don't know how long it's going to be till I get another one. So for now, I'm probably just going to borrow some gameplay from somebody and record my own stuff over it. But I'll do that in the near future, you guys. Be sure to check out my music project, facebook.com/TechAmusic. Make sure to check out all my other videos on this channel. If you like, subscribe. And thank you guys for making my SCADA AMV so popular. All right, I'm gonna probably do some other stuff on the computer now. So